that should pull it up. But I mean, they know this. I mean, this is crimes against humanity that are off the chart. This is, from the studies I've seen, Doc, higher ratios than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Why is DU so deadly?
Well, because of the incredible amount of quantities. I mean, we used 370 tons of solid radioactive materials during Desert Storm. And then, so we did, that's Desert Storm, Gulf War I. That's just in a few weeks, all right? And then in 93 and 94, we used another 35 tons in the Balkans, all right? And I wrote the procedures for that. We used it in Somalia. And as we're getting ready for the Somalia, we wrote and got out in October of 1993 what's called, that's the primary medical directive for providing medical care to anybody exposed to DU. And that required medical care being provided, the radio bioassay done within 24 hours of exposure. Within 24 hours of exposure, not weeks, months, years later. Because what we do know, and when we wrote the medical procedures and all this other stuff, is if you wait for 30 days after you're exposed to DU and do a radio bioassay, that's your analysis, what you will find with all the tests the military uses, either VA and the Army, they use the same lab, the same bad guys. It'll only be 1/1000th what's actually in the body. So that, I mean, so they deliberately delay the testing so that there is no medical evidence of it. And then what's there, they say, well, this is dietary. Well, this is not dietary. If it's never been in the diet, it's never going to be in the diet. And so we have a total nightmare. We have just a mindset of, well, these are extraordinarily effective weapons against all known targets. So we're going to use them. We're not going to give the troops the training. We're not going to give them the regulations that are enforced. And what's real interesting, today, the general that signed the Army regulation, that signed the original orders, going back to 1993 and then in 2002, is now the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, General Eric Shinseki. My attempts to talk to him and his staff and get them to acknowledge and do what's required, and for him to even confirm that they need to comply with what he wrote, he signed as a mandatory directive, even though I wrote it, meets with total failure.
All right, I've got to apologize. For some reason, my mind failed me. It's not 14 times an increase in cancers and birth defects. It's 15 times. London Guardian, London Independent, AP. So it's 15 times. Sorry, folks. It's worse than I said. Toxic legacy of U.S. assault in Fallujah, worse than Hiroshima. The shocking rates of infant mortality and cancer in Iraqi city raise new questions about battle. No, they know. I mean, the doctors are telling them it's the DU. They knew this. I mean, it's like Satan runs our government.
Yeah, because you have to understand, what we're doing is about killing, destroying, and seizing property, terrain, and resources. And so anything that's effectively to do that, you're going to do it. And that's where I had to make the ethical and moral decision. What do I have to do? I tried within the system for years and years and years to get it done, to get it taken care of, to get compliance with the regulations, get the medical care, and it failed. Totally failed.
Well, I'll tell you this. America has got a lot of good people in it, but we make jokes about Iraq and, parking lot, turn them into a parking lot, glass parking lot, and people are so disconnected from reality. Of course the banks have stolen $28 trillion, according to Bloomberg. Of course they're setting up mobile X-ray vans that are going to end up killing the operators and the people they're hitting with them. Of course, I mean, it's the sky's the limit, Doctor. I mean, if they get away with this and people make jokes about the dead and dying Iraqi children, like the one on screen, then, I mean, what's going to happen to us? The same thing. I mean, what does this say about what they think about the troops?
They don't care about the troops, but that's most effective. One of the things that scared me, and this all happened here in the last few weeks, medical care for the Department of Veteran Affairs is completely broken. The Department of Veteran Affairs totally acknowledges from Desert Storm there's 300,000 needing medical care. They thoroughly acknowledge over 500,000 from Vietnam. With the new rules, are going to add another 250,000. And they thoroughly, totally acknowledge in their own medical reports, and you've seen those, you have them, where it's over 500,000, 500,000 from Iraqi freedom, the current things alone, okay? And then back for a few, just again here a couple of weeks ago for September 11th, all right? The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs decides to sponsor a race car, the September 11th Air National Guard race, okay, Air Guard 400 at Richmond, Virginia. $430,000 is what they pay to sponsor a race car. $430,000 sponsor a race car. And myself and my team and my guys right here, I mean, just a handful of us, so we know we can't even get our prompt and effective medical care for ourselves. And we have to pay out of our pocket for our own surgery.
Well, let's go back.
Medical care.
They knew day one it was asbestos, mercury, everything several feet deep on the ground from the World Trade Center's collapse. And they said, don't wear respirators, there's no problem. Core exit in the Gulf. They're saying it doesn't matter if the average age is 51 to die from the Exxon Valdez cleanup with the same stuff. I mean, it's this policy of they enjoy killing troops and first responders. They're setting the precedent. And the New York Post called the dead and dying medical people and police and firemen ambulance chasers for trying to get medical treatment for the asbestos. I mean, doctor, I've got all the Rockefeller Foundation documents. We've covered it, where they say they want to reduce our population.
Well, let's come to the World Trade Center. Those police and fire that went in there and died, that are sick today, those are my friends. They were my students. One of my best friends led the entire rescue, Willie Rodriguez. That's reality. And those guys call. I've got one of the police officers, senior command officials. He's very sick and having all the same medical problems. And we talk, and he tries to get medical care, and we work on everything we can. But they have just thrown those guys away because it's all the toxic materials, all the byproducts of the explosives, all the byproducts of the uranium munitions that were used. I mean, I want to say that again. The uranium munitions were used, especially in the South Tower. I mean, we know that happened. You can see on the video and the photographs and do the measurements.
Well, that's right. I've actually seen major British reports where they did radiation readings, and they were off the charts. And how was there 2,500 degrees a month and a half after from the thermal photographs of the site?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's a nightmare. So it's a medical nightmare all the way around.
Well, let me ask you this. You're saying they blew it up using some type of DU weapon, and there's a lot of evidence that shows that. If tens of thousands of troops conservatively have died from DU exposure...
Well, we're looking at... You actually look... When we go to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, Griffiths report, that's the Gulf War Veterans Information System reports, all anybody has to do is go to www.va.gov, then in the VA search engine, you type in GWVIS. That's Gulf War Veterans Information System, but the acronym is GWVIS. Pull it up and read it. It tells you point blank, these are the number of troops that participated, were on duty. These are the number that are currently left alive. These are the hundreds and hundreds of thousands that have now applied for permanent disability with the Department of Veteran Affairs because of medical problems. But yet we've denied care to tens and tens of thousands.
And I've read that their life expectancy is way down. So how many people roughly have died from the DU?
God only knows. I mean, thousands upon thousands upon thousands, civilians and military. I mean, when we see all these military, because you have to remember, with the military, you've got complex exposures, not just have you got the immunizations, you got the hazard materials, you got all of the stuff that's gone in there. And the pesticides. Totally.
I understand, but here's my question, because we're almost out of time. And will you come back soon?
I'll come back any day, anytime you ask me.
Maybe we should do 2 hours so I can really let you roll with your incredible knowledge, and then take an hour of calls. So when we let you go here in a moment, we'll put you on hold, Doctor, because the show's about to end this hour, and I'm going to cover some financial news because so much is happening right now in the markets. But this issue, what I'm saying is this. If they don't care about the troops dying from radiation exposure, if they don't care about the TSA employees running these naked body scanners, why wouldn't the Pentagon stage a 9/11 to kill 3,000 people, to make trillions of dollars in no-bid contracts and launch their war and set up a domestic police state, A? And B, what is your view of 9/11?
Well, the first thing, talk to the individuals who were absolutely in there, okay? And when I talk to the people who were there, we know that the aircraft, there was no aircraft to hit the Pentagon. That you can confirm with video photographs, and the people were there. My friends were there. And you talk to the police and the fire in the World Trade Center. Get their direct opinion. Get them on the radio and talk to them. Find out exactly what happened by the people that were there. And then it scares the bejesus out of you. But the whole key thing with DU, and we got to leave this because I know you're running out of time. Every soldier, every parent, everybody has to pull up the U.S. Army Regulations 700-48. They have to pull up the depleted uranium common task training. They could have to pull up the pamphlets and the technical bulletin and read the information for themselves. Find out what's happening. Pull up the Wakayama depleted uranium briefing. And you can go to grassrootspeace.org and go to Beyond Treason websites, and you can pull them up and read them. Make sure you have it. And then if you're the military, ask your commander, why aren't you giving me the mandatory training? Why aren't you telling me this? Why aren't you giving me the mandatory medical care? Because they don't care.
Well, Doc, if your calendar is good, we're going to have you on for 2 hours. We'll do an hour of overdrive, 1 to 3 Central on Monday, October the 11th. How's that sound?
Hey, we can do that.
And just God bless you for your work and your strength and all you've gone through and your courage. I know a lot of military families, a lot of people thinking about joining the military, a lot of currently serving military are going to watch this video, hear this podcast, and look into what you're saying. And they can search that Army regs. They can look at it for themselves. Because I have troops that email me and go, they tell us DU is not even a problem. And I've had military families who get mad at me, people I know, and have called me a liar to my face, saying, my son, fires these munitions, and you're a liar. The government wouldn't do that. And you just don't even know what to say to them, Doc. I mean, they're just so foolish.
Well, they're so foolish, but then the problem is when they're in a crisis mode, my phone rings 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And I don't sleep at night, or I get woken up, or we have to respond, or we have to get medical coordinator, we have to get a pastor deployed, or we have to get the police deployed. I mean, you can't keep doing it. And I can't keep doing it because of the total disregard of our leaders for the health and safety of our military.
Well, people are just so gullible, because if they admit the government knows DU is killing the troops, and then they have to admit that we literally have nothing less than Satan running our country. I mean, if they have to admit that to themselves, their whole fake world is over. And as you said on record, the Army knows this. They know full well what they're doing, and they just actually enjoy what's happening to the troops. I mean, it's not just they don't care.
And you get right to it. What my pastor has said, and my brigade chaplain for the military said, two individuals, people won't acknowledge it because the foundation of everything they believed and what they trusted literally collapses. And then their life goes and shatters. Well, try living it 365 days a year for 40 years. I'm going back to my Agent Orange days and realize what is happening and try to get it done for myself. And I had to put this stuff together, but get it done for these kids that don't know, and they don't have access. They don't know who to call. They don't know how to get help.
Dr. Rocky, we'll see you on Monday, the 11th of October. So we'll see you in about 12 days or so. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.